Hey, hello there, everybody. Shane R. Monroe here. Thank you for joining me on a Friday night chat. We are going to talk about, of course, the venerable Steam Deck, but instead of talking about how great it is, or how perfect it is, or how it has no flaws, and how it's so much better than the Asus ROG Ally, let's have an opportunity to diss on this little handheld for a change. Um, I sit on Reddit all day long. I read everybody's complaints. I see what everybody complains about, and I have my own complaints. Right, I have 10 items on my list here to talk about that I'm sure many of you also have similar problems with the product. So I thought we'd have an opportunity to have sort of a group discussion, and then maybe I'll chop this thing up and make it into a video. It just seemed like it made more sense to talk with you guys as a group to see what everybody was upset about and to see if perhaps the overlap wasn't complete. So first off, is there anybody in the live chat right now can give me a little voice test, make sure everything looks good on my levels, but you know how YouTube is. So if anybody wants to give me a good mic check here, let me know that the audio is okay. I'm doing my homage to the Y-Files here. I got my Hecklefish shirt on. And I also realize that there is a delay. So I've got, like I said, I've got 10 things that I want to talk about, and then I want to hear what you guys have to talk about. So yes, the ROG Ally is coming in a couple of weeks, and I know that that's going to be interesting here for this channel because I am going to be covering that product as well, and I know that people are very interested in the product because honestly, there are reasons why it may be in some ways superior, you know, right? They're touting twice as much power and they're touting this and they're touting that, but in reality, the early reviews have been a little bullish on it, and you know that's it's partially hype, it's partially marketing, it's partially because, and I mentioned this myself, is that we uh, we don't have any real reviews. I mean, the people that you're watching reviews for the Ally from are people who have they're people who got it for free. They got pre-release units, they got pre-production units. They're not even using the latest firmwares, a lot of them. So while people have been clogging YouTube up for weeks with ROG videos, Ally videos, they're not giving you the real story. So I'm hopeful that you know when the unit gets in the hands of the general public, that is not compensated endorsers, that there will definitely be there will definitely be some more realistic looks at it, right? And I'm not talking about running numbers and skimming frame rates and things like that. I'm talking about like real people reviews, because you know how it is. The YouTube compensated endorser type, they gotta get through this and get on to the next thing. You know, I try to keep Monroe World focused on something for a period of time, and you know I did Oculus Quest for a while. I'm now doing Steam Deck. I fill in the blanks with content and as I can with things that are interesting. But I like to kind of keep focused because I think a lot of people are rushing through things. And that's not to say there's not great YouTube channels that are covering the Ally. So, but I do believe that we're gonna have a better opinion in a couple of weeks when people like myself who are small, paying their own money, right? I mean, it's hard not to talk up a product when Asus is giving it to you for free, and you have a channel to support and clickbait to generate and all that good stuff. So you guys know I do my best to to keep you guys, you know, try to keep things fair and level, which is one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to do this video, right? I wanted to do, you know, a little community town hall here about what could be wrong with the Steam Deck. And like I said, I got a whole list of 10, and I could probably come up with 5 more if we run out of time. No one's in the chat. That's okay. That's okay. This was sort of a last minute throw together, so I don't expect a whole lot of people to jump in. It'll probably get watched more later. But if there is anybody out there would like to get that mic check, make sure that you guys can hear me okay before we start running through the content. So anyway, um, yeah, so it's an exciting time for handheld gaming, is it not? I mean, we've got discussions of the next Switch coming, and listen, the it is almost like a tidal wave of product, right? I mean, I covered the Anbernic for a while. I mean, there's Powkiddy. I mean, listen, you can't kick over a garbage can without a handheld gaming system falling out of it. Unfortunately, a lot of them are questionable construction. Of course, they come with tons of pirated software. You know, there are a lot of reasons why these handhelds are so cheap, and that, you know, well, listen, most people don't care about piracy. You know, they're fine if you're going to send me a card with 200,000 pirated games on it. I'm not going to argue with you. It's hard to believe that Amazon lets that stuff go by, but you know, whatever. I still have no mic check here. Let's see. We got here. Okay, so the chat, there's a chat, but it's not coming through. Okay, give me just a second. I'll respawn another chat. This has happened before. Let me. I don't think that the pop-out chat works very well, to be honest with you. There we go. Hang on a second. I think that pop-out chat is kind of hokey. All right, that's okay. We'll get it. We'll get it squared away here. It seems to be like when you go live, it either resets the chat or something. I don't know, but that's okay. I think we're good now. Thank you. Sounds okay there, Russ. Good. Okay. There we go. Perfect. 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 Top chat to live chat. Okay. Well, listen, I don't do a lot of this live stuff, so let's do that. Okay. Perfect. All right, we'll take a look at that and we'll see how it goes. So let's go ahead and get started. I know there's hey everyone new to the channel, just subscribed yesterday, watching a review of the Anker 737 and bought it through your affiliate link. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Affiliate links do they do provide the channel with some cash. I mean, it's not a ton of bank, but you know, listen, every little bit helps, and I appreciate it. The Anker's a great product. I mean, the 737. If you can put out the cash, right? If you can if you can actually say to yourself, oh my God, I can really spend $120 on a power bank and not feel guilty about it. It's a phenomenal power bank. And me, you know, I'm almost neurotic about knowing how much juice I've got left. Right? You're on the plane, you're on the train, you're in an automobile, right? And you just don't know how much more time you've got. And it's so great to be able to just pick up the brick and go, nice. I mean, this is fantastic. I know I've got exactly 51 more minutes before I start chewing through deck power, and then after that, I know I've got about 2 hours to go left of Overwatch play. So there you go. So I'm hoping that you're going to like it. Have you got it yet, Douglas? Did you get the Anker already? I'd be excited to hear what you think about it too. I mean, sometimes I just get all caught up in some of this tech, and you know, it's like this little guy, right? I'm just looking around. I got this little this is the USB C meter, the power meter, where I can tell, you know, how much power draw is coming out. This is great if you don't happen to be able to afford an Anker 737, you know. Hey now, Alex J. Lopez is here. Yeah, $40 coupon. So what did you end up paying? $109, I guess, for that. If you got a $40 coupon, I can't remember. I got it off of Newegg when they had some ridiculously crazy sale on it, and it's amazing. I don't know if I don't know if I've warmed up to the Square yet, but that's just because every power bank that I have, and there's a stack of them back there you can't see, they're all rectangular, so it's like, oh, Square, that feels weird. But hey, you know, whatever. All right, well, let's go ahead and get to the topic at hand here. And again, I'm expecting everybody to chime in here. Order one for your girlfriend too. Nice, nice. Yeah, you don't want to deny your significant other when yeah, 110. I think that's about what I paid. I think I paid 109. There was some sort of a deal, and I think there was less tax at Newegg. I don't know. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about. I'm going to get started. I've got 10 things. I was thinking about just throwing them all out there or doing them one at a time. I don't know. We'll start off and see how it goes. Right? I was planning on giving like a minute and a half per topic if I was going to shoot this as a video. So yeah, so I imagine we'll probably kill more time with it. So the first thing I had on my list was the internet and offline type requirements, right? This is a handheld, for crying out loud. You're expecting to take this handheld elsewhere. You're expecting to take it camping. You're expecting to take it on a plane. You're expecting to play it in the hotel, right? I mean, you're expecting to take it to places that aren't home base, right? Now, granted, I get plenty of playtime on the couch with it, and a lot of people I know play it in bed. They play it on the toilet. They're in their home environment. They just don't want to be strapped to the same PC that they're strapped to all day long, right? So that's okay for those sort of people, but there's a lot of folks that are out there traveling with this thing. About once a month, maybe twice a month, we get somebody on Reddit that usually it's a significant other's spouse that says, "Hey, my husband's going underway, and he's in the Navy. He's going underway for 6 months. Would this be a good buy for him?" And it's like, God, unless you're looking to do emulation the whole time, no. I mean, if you can't reach out once a week at least to refresh your authentication credentials and make Denuvo happy, is it just me or does Denuvo have to mean the devil in some language that I don't know? Because Denuvo is the devil. And that, I mean, that I hate saying it because I was in the Navy for 7 years, and to have something like the deck underway would have been phenomenal, but not the deck that we have now. That everything is offline, or you have to refresh your. Listen, Space Ace, the laser disc game Space Ace. I bought it for $5 on Steam. There's no online component. No. There's no leaderboards. There's nothing. There's nothing to that game that says anything about online. But Steam's own DRM, right? I had Space Ace installed for a month, and then went on a trip, and I was going to play it in the car on a trip to Vegas, and wouldn't run. You run it, no go, because it needed to get back on the internet and authenticate. The second I tethered up my phone, got on there, and I ran it, boom, let me right through. This is Space Ace. This is an old Laserdisc game from the 80s. I should not have to put up with the same nonsense that people are dealing with the latest Denuvo multiplayer online game. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I don't know what the solution is to that. Can Valve fix that? I don't think so. Valve, right, they're at the behest of the developers and the publishers. So the developers and the publishers say, we're going to support your platform and we're going to let you put games on it as long as you meet this criteria. You can't just let them have it forever, right? You need to have some sort of checks and balances. So what can Valve do about it? Kind of nothing, which sucks. I mean, in all honesty, the only way, which is really sad, the only way to actually get full access to your game on and offline is to pirate it. When that's terrible, right? I mean, you could buy the game and then pirate a copy of it and then play the pirated copy when you're underway for 6 months. How ridiculous is that, right? It's unbelievable that we have to deal with. Yeah, exactly. Which is exactly, yeah. So, and for those of you who are listening and you're not watching the chat, Russell said that Emulation Station, download lots of stuff. You have tons of stuff to play, and you could play everything offline. And that's absolutely right. And every single person that says, I'm about to get on a 12-hour flight, I'm about to get on a 7-hour flight, I'm about to go underway for 3 months, I'm about to do this, I'm about to do that. I tell them, I said, listen, there is no good game. Get emulation, and a lot of it. Download a full set. Listen, I'm not trying to encourage ROM piracy, but listen, we're talking about like an NES or something. Go download a full good set of that. It will literally take up 500 megabytes of drive space, and you'll have a new game to play every hour of every day that you're gone. And people are, I want Switch games, PS3 games. No. That's not what you want. You want long battery life and no internet and no nonsense. You got to go back to like Generation 4, Generation 3, and you'll have plenty of things to play. And that's exactly what I tell them. I tell them every single time in Reddit when they say, is this a good product to give my husband to go underway with or to long flight? Only if he's into emulation. And listen, like Russell said, you could get decades worth of games. I mean, literally, I think I've got 170,000 games on my Steam Deck for emulation. Now that includes Commodore 64, Atari 2600, right? I mean, it's not Switch games, but my point is I could play a different game every hour of every day for the next 10 years and never play the same game twice. So, yeah, there's a market for it, but is that the market for it? But Burst Nib says, buying a game, like you said before, just means nothing. It's just a long-term rental. So I get into a lot of arguments about what you own and what you don't own. At some point, I'm going to give you guys a tour of my movie nook. My movie nook was occupied by our sick cat, and so it's been her space for a long period of time. And so the movie nook has gone into disarray. But I'm cleaning it up. I'm resorting everything. I'm getting everything put away so that at some point I can give you guys a tour. I'm big into physical media ownership. I'm big into ownership. I'm less into renting borrowing, subscribing to a pass. I know for a lot of people, we're in an era now of throwaway content, right? Everything's throwaway content. The only thing that Netflix is interested in giving you or Disney Plus is interested in giving you is more content so that they can maintain a subscription base. And it doesn't even have to be good content, honestly. I mean, yeah, there's some good stuff on those services, but a lot of trash too. Um, but like Game Pass, I know a ton of people love. I love Game Pass. I need Game Pass on my deck. Okay, you're probably got the wrong product, right? If you want Game Pass, which is a Microsoft product, which has got Microsoft's backing, you should be running Windows. And honestly, you probably don't want to run Windows on the Steam Deck, right? And I've got a topic about talking about this coming up. It's number 7, in fact, on my list. But this isn't the device for you. And so, like when you talk about the ROG Ally as Windows being a selling point, I don't personally consider it a selling point. I think it's a not selling point because if I wanted Windows on a portable device, I have my pick of other devices. I don't need Windows to be on my gaming system like that. So, but there are people that do not. They are not people like us. They are not people who want to own. They don't want to own anything. They don't want to pay for anything. These are the people that are playing Fortnite. They're the people who are playing all the free-to-play whale games, and they love it because they don't have to put any money out. Unfortunately, almost all of that stuff doesn't work on the deck, or if it does, it's a huge pain in the butt, including Windows. So the deck's probably not the product for these people. But up until now, what is the product for them? $1,000 import from AliExpress? No, I mean you gotta come in the price range at least. But the deck isn't for them. And I get plenty of downvotes, and my karma takes a huge hit on Reddit when I tell people this is not the device for you. Supposedly, you're supposed to be recommending the deck to anybody for any use case, and I don't go that way. I don't want. Here's the thing, and I've said it on Reddit. I don't know how if I've said it in a video. I don't want more deck owners if they're unhappy deck owners, right? I would rather lose a deck sale than to have an unhappy deck owner. Yes, they contribute to our numbers. Yes, they give us a stronger power with the publishers. But you know what? An unhappy deck owner isn't going to propagate. And I don't want that. So if somebody sounds like they really want a Windows PC or a Windows laptop or a Windows handheld, I'm going to point them in the other direction because it's not the answer for everybody. The deck running Linux is what I've been longing for. It's working great so far. Yeah, and listen, as long as you state a purpose, which I talk about a lot and get downvoted a lot about, you stick to purpose. It's a great handheld. Um, let's see. What else do I have on my notes for that? I think that's it. Okay, so let's move on to topic number 2. We're like 20 minutes in already. Unbelievable. Topic number 2, integrating with third-party lockers. Right? It sucks. It doesn't matter if it's standalone lockers like EA or BlizzardNet or BattleNet, whatever. Third-party lockers with the Steam Deck is a recipe for disaster. And it doesn't matter. If you buy a game from Ubisoft via the Steam store, you're still saddled with the same locker, and you're still saddled with the same nonsense that happens every time that locker stops working. And by the way, EA's locker just stopped working again, right? Every couple of weeks, they push some sort of an update to their client. They didn't test it on the Steam Deck. Nobody cares over there, right? You're lucky they test it for Windows. And so, so all of a sudden, every single EA game breaks, whether you're running the standalone app or you're running it from Steam. It breaks. Now, listen, here's my theory on the whole thing. EA doesn't care. They don't care. Steam, on the other hand, they care. So who's going to fix the problem? If EA blows up their app, which they have numerous times since I've owned the Steam Deck, if Blizzard blows up their app numerous times they've had since I've owned the deck, if Ubisoft destroys their client, which it has several times since I've owned the deck, right? This is a common phrase. Who fixes it? The community, right? You get a special version of Proton, or you have to play the hokey pokey game, right, Javier? You have to go in and nuke the Proton files because something gets corrupted. And there's workarounds. Of course, there's workarounds for all this stuff. It's like, well, EA's working for me. Yeah, that's because you know what you're doing. But these poor schmucks that are buying the Steam Deck because they look at it as a console that lets them play games their consoles don't have because they're PC exclusives, they don't know what the hell they're doing. And those that do know what they're doing are getting tired of playing the hokey pokey game. Javier in the chat here is a great example. You know, he's tired of playing the hokey pokey games. I think he was getting all into, was it Mass Effect Legendary, and then all of a sudden it stopped working. I don't know if he's played it since. There's a workaround. There's a fix. I published it on Reddit. I published it on the channel. There's a way around it. You're going to lose save if you don't know what you're doing, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. So again, I go back to purpose, right? Purpose is my watchword when it comes to the Steam Deck. If you want a 7-inch 800p Steam OS, right, handheld gaming system, the Steam Deck is a great choice. If what you want to do is play free Epic games and free-to-play whale games and Game Pass and all of this Switch emulation, this is probably not it's probably not what you're looking for. This is not these are not the droids you're looking for. This is not the deck you're looking for. Where's my camera? There we go. It's all backwards. Anyway, so yeah. So the third, basically, if anybody says, you know, I have hundreds of free Epic games, and that's what I want to play with on my Steam Deck, and I want to use Game Pass, I'm like, dude, wait for the Ally, because that's the product that's going to solve your problems. The Steam Deck is not going to be the product to solve your problems, which is too bad. I'm willing to play the hokey pokey game so I can play Overwatch, but that's it. I mean, anything else I have to play hokey pokey with, it dies on the vine. You know that Genshin Impact video I just did? That's already depreciated. They've already broken that one by updating some crap on their side, and now people are all upset. And it's like, guys, it was working when I put it up there. Let's see what we got next. Let's see. Number 3, 64 gigabyte SKU issues are not disclosed. To me, this is the worst thing that Valve ever did. The worst thing about the Steam Deck isn't about third-party launchers. It's not about offline and online. It's the fact that they sold a 64 gigabyte SKU when they had to know full well it was completely inadequate, right? The 64 gigabyte SKU turns on out of the box with 46 gigabytes free. That's before you do anything. I'll just install stuff on the SD card and I'll be fine. No, you won't, because the internal storage is going to fill up with shader caches, Proton versions, flat packs, basically everything else. And so, you know, it's like, well, just only install one game at a time and you're fine. Dude, come on. Come on. What is that? I get so tired of hearing that on Reddit. Oh, it's, you know, just offload your shader caches to your SD card. Meanwhile, the people that you're telling to offload their shaders to on an SD card has some crappy 2 terabyte card they got from AliExpress that they haven't filled up enough to realize that they got screwed, and it's only a 512 gigabyte card from AliExpress. You know, these aren't, I mean, there are times, and I wrote a huge dissertation on Reddit about when does it make sense to move crap from internal storage to external storage. And the answer is very rarely. And the 64 gigabyte SKU is ridiculous. Now, I do know people that that are perfectly happy with their 64 gigabyte SKU. You know why? Because it's a machine for one game, right? My wife plays Disney Dreamlight Valley. I think Womp Rat's there. That's what your wife plays. Your wife doesn't play anything else on there yet. I don't know if she got Sims on there, if she's going to play Diablo 4. But people who are there to play one game, sure, 64 gigabyte. Perfect product. But guess what? 99.99999% of the people that are on Reddit, 99.999% of the people that are interested in a Steam Deck aren't there to play a single game. Kai Ning, am I pronouncing that right? Kai Ning? Hello, speaking of stuff that doesn't work, I don't know if you've already talked about it, but gaming mode defaulting all non-QWERTY keyboards to QWERTY is really messed up. Non-QWERTY keyboards to QWERTY. You know, that's got to be an esoteric use case. I don't even remember the last time in gaming mode I brought the keyboard up. I guess nothing I play actually uses it. But I guess what you're saying is you're non-English speaker. You have a or you're using like what, a Dvorak keyboard? What does non-QWERTY mean? They're using something non-standard, and then in gaming mode it only brings up the built-in one. I thought somewhere along the way that got fixed. That there was something about maybe it was non-English keyboards. I thought something recently got fixed with that. The keyboard's a whole other story, and that's not even on my list. Yeah, she doesn't have time for that. Yeah, I understand, man. I get it. So yeah, there's a lot of things about the 64 gigabyte SKU which are ridiculous. And you know, the 64 gigabyte SKU, it's all the same hardware except the storage. Well, the storage is the problem, right? 46 gigabytes out of the box, not enough. And And honestly, it's slower, right? I mean, people don't talk about this very often, and I tend to get downvoted when I bring anything up negative about the Steam Deck. But um, you know, it's almost 13% slower. I mean, okay, 13%. Ooh, 13% slower. Listen, that can make the difference between a slow loading shader cache, right? I mean, 13% doesn't sound like a lot, but it kind of is. And that's something, I mean, they do disclose that it's eMMC memory in the 64, where it's, NVMe, got too many mnemonics, on the 256 and 512 gigabyte SKU. But nobody said anywhere that it's slower, and people will say it's not slower. Don't worry about it. It's not slower. 64 gigabytes fine. It's slower. You know, it's slower. So why not be honest? Now, I'm not going to bitch about something without coming up with a solution. My solution has been from the beginning that Steam Deck being a Linux-based machine in a niche market, they should have offered a diskless SKU, right? Here's your Steam Deck. We're going to send it to you. There's no disk in, there's no drive in there. If you want to boot off a memory stick, you can do that. You can literally burn. You can. I mean, I've actually got, I don't know where it is. It's on my desk here somewhere. Crap everywhere. I literally have a memory stick that has, I don't know where it is. I have a memory stick that has SteamOS on it. I could literally stick it in there, power up and boot from it with no hard drive, and I could still use Steam. I can boot from a Windows card, right? But if I really wanted to put a terabyte of storage in there, it's going to cost me a lot less than buying even the 512 gigabyte SKU. So I guess my point is, this is a hobbyist machine. This isn't being sold at Best Buy. This isn't being sold at Walmart, right? People who buy this tend to lean to the technical side, can probably change out or add an SSD, right? So why couldn't they have sold us the diskless SKU? They wanted to keep under that price point, which I get it. Listen, I understand marketing 101. Under $400 beats the hell out of $449.99, right? $399 is a much better number, even though it's only $50 off. My point is $399 should have been a diskless SKU. Next one up should have been the 256 and then 512. There should have never been a 64 gigabyte SKU to begin with. Terrible idea. It's fixed for the Steam Deck Virtual Keyboard. However, external keyboard plugged into dock, it's not. Oh, I see what you're saying. Is that something USB related though? Like if you plug in, I don't know. I'm just going to be talking out of my tail end on that one. I don't know. They pulled a Nintendo with that 64 gigabyte trick. I know. I think they should cut the 64 and replace it with the 128. Absolutely. Not sure how profitable it would be, only increasing the price by $50. Any thoughts? Look, it's been in production. Well, I mean, it's been for sale for a year, right? So it's been in production at least a year and a half, probably 2 years. It's time to have a price reduction, right? There's no more stranglehold on components going on, right? All of the reasons why you would have to pay more for electronics in the last couple of years, out the door. So 256 should be the $399 price, in my opinion. I have not seen a price breakdown. I don't know how much money they are making or losing on the Steam Deck, but it's time. The 64 gigabyte SKU should go bye-bye as soon as possible. 256 should be the starter. And again, bring the diskless SKU to market. Trust me, the diskless SKU will sell like something. What was I looking for? Sell like gangbusters. There you go. It'll sell like crazy. Trust me. Sell it for $299, not $299. I guess it would be like $349, right? $349, no disc. You provide the disc. People are doing that anyway. So I think that's what should be done. I think they should have a diskless SKU for $349. The next one up should be the 256. Probably not $399. You're gonna have to give them a little bit more leeway there, but not $100 more expensive, $449. And then the 512 can be the premium, oh my God, boutique. I have to boast about my super sweet anti-glare glass, whatever. That can remain the boutique item, right? For those people who don't ever want to open their Steam Deck. Perfect. But yeah, it's time to get rid of the eMMC 64 gigabyte SKU. It needs to go away. Or what they need to do is be a little more honest with their end users, right? They should probably say for each item what's, sort of what the caveat is, right? 64 gig, good for beginners, good for 2 or 3 gamers, indie gamers, that sort of thing, because that would be perfect for them. Okay, enough bitching about that. Okay, The bumpers. Good Lord, I hate the bumpers on the Steam Deck. I've said it before. I've had it in my videos. I've complained about it on Reddit. I do not like the bumpers on the Steam Deck. And there's nothing you can do about it, right? You can't replace them. You can't modify them. They are what they are, which is why I map my bumpers immediately. In any game that uses it, get immediately routed to the back paddles, right? These I won't use these on a bet. And it's not because mine are bad. They're not comfortable. These are not comfortable to get to unless you claw, right? People who use the claw method love them. I'm not a claw person. My son plays claw. I can't do it. I don't like it. I'm old school. But I don't like the bumpers. I don't like them. I haven't liked them since day one. I've complained about them. What can be done about that? I don't know. It's part placement, it's part mechanics, and it's just a design thing. So to me, I know that seems like a really petty thing to bring up on a top 10 list of things I don't like about Steam Deck, but yeah, I mean, to me, especially again, I bring up Overwatch a lot because that's pretty much all I play. If you've seen my video about mapping back buttons, when you're playing like Moira or something and you're holding this trigger down, and you need to hit that bumper. God, this backward camera is killing me. You have to hit that bumper. You can't just roll your thumb over it to hit it, right? You have to actually like let go and hit it, or you have to hold it and then hit like that or claw, right? It's almost impossible. And there's other games that it's a pain too, but that's if I had to bring up a small point that I don't like about the deck. But fortunately, I can route them to the back. And quite frankly, I've actually started routing all my bumpers on my other controllers. I map all of those to rear paddles now. So these are my bumpers, even on my infamous Elite 2 controller. So I've just kind of gotten used to it. Let's see. I don't think the right kind of consumer for Steam Deck is cost conscious like Nintendo consumer. For me, I'd add a 1 TB version rather than slightly better entry level. I would agree with that. The only reason I don't is because cost appears to be the number one thing about Steam Deck that people are talking about. It's always about the cost. Why didn't you get the 256? Oh, my memory's so full. I can't do anything. My deck stopped working. Why did you buy a 64 gigabyte one? Did you do any research at all? It's like I feel sorry for you because essentially Valve screwed you by not telling you that 64 gigabyte wasn't enough, right? Well, I can't afford to upgrade. It's like, dude, it's $50. You get $50, you can get a 512 gigabyte drive and put it in there. It's too much money. I can't afford it. Meanwhile, they're about ready to drop, $100 on a micro SD card, but I can't afford it. Whatever. So it's like, I don't know. To me, there has to be a bare bottom SKU for the Steam Deck. There has to be. There has to be something that is almost a guilty purchase because it's so cheap. Oh my God, I must be screwing Valve. It's so cheap. I'm getting a full-blown PC for $399, right? I mean, you have to have that. But I totally agree that 512 could go away, and let's make the middle tier 512. The ROG Ally, that's what it's going to have, 512 out of the box. So hopefully everyone says competition is good. You shouldn't be saying bad things about the Ally, and I'm not. But it's like, okay, great. Let's see the competition in play. My guess is in a year, there's still going to be a 256 gigabyte SKU available for the Steam Deck because that's the market they're targeting. They're targeting lowest price, lowest barrier to entry on price, which to me just blows my mind that people would rather spend $100 on, a 1 TB micro SD card than to spend $100 and replace their internal storage. I don't know. Let's see. So the bumpers aren't great. Okay. Whine. Okay. So this is where Russell, I'm glad you're here. Let's see. Wait a minute. I'm going to catch up on the chat. The DS was the high point of handheld tech. Hard to argue with you. The DS probably is the all-time greatest handheld. Like if you had to pick one, the Steam Deck is amazing, right? But like if you were to say like from a major competitor, right, from a major brand, the DS. Listen, I've got like 600 cartridges for the DS. The DS was a huge part of my life, and I still have all of it. I haven't gotten rid of anything. I haven't sold any. I haven't done anything. The DS, literally have a box, and I have a video somewhere if you search for it um, where I show every single DS game that I have. We organize them. We did all this stuff. And it's almost grotesque how much DS stuff I have. Let's see. I would have loved a 1 terabyte model. I got the 512 and added 1 terabyte micro SD. I know you can replace the SSD, but you're too nervous to open it. Yeah, I get it. I get that, right? Listen, I wasn't going to open mine. I got a 256, and honestly, oddly enough, the 256 is like the Goldilocks SKU, and I don't know why, but 64 gigabytes sucks, but 256 is golden, and it's because you don't, no matter how many games you install, it doesn't seem to be enough to put enough shader caches, enough Proton versions, enough of this and enough of that to stretch the 256, which I think is 148 out the door. 148 is a good number. And I think the highest shader cache that I have is 7 gigabytes with Overwatch. That just keeps growing every time they have a new event or whatever. Um, but I think the biggest shader cache I've heard is 12 gigabytes, and that's for A Hat in Time, which is all transcoded videos, right? Because it files in with the shaders. But at 12 gigabytes, how many games could you still put? At 12 gigabytes, how many games could you put with the 256 internal? A lot, right? But it wasn't until my buddy Womprat's there, he just said, "Screw it, I'm doing it." And I'm like, I don't know. That's a big piece of pie to monkey with on your own. He just popped it open and did it, and I'm like, dude, I am totally in there like swimwear. And I replaced mine a couple weeks later, and it's been the greatest thing I could have possibly done for the Steam Deck. So watch a couple videos. Douglas, watch my video. You've probably already seen it. You're a subscriber. I know you. Watch Womp video. We both sort of take it a slightly different look at it. Listen, it's not that hard. But 512. You already got a 512 in there. I don't know. I'm thinking your return on investment on that might be a little lower, especially with games increasing in size to 100 gigabytes minimum. Yeah. Even with the new Mortal Kombat being 100 plus gigabytes, which is so crazy. Dude, the 100 gigabyte club is not exclusive to any sense of the word. Everything I install is almost 100 gigabytes or more now. It's ridiculous. Thank you for the encouragement. I might just have to give it a whirl. New to the channel, go hunting. So yeah, I've got a video, Douglas. Search for Sabrent. Sabrent is the Sabrent Rocket is the drive that I put in. Womprat's there put in an inline from Micro Center. We benched them both. We compared them. They're pretty close. He paid, I think, significantly less for his than I did. Yeah, and watch his too, because he's a different person than me, and it's nice. And there's a billion of people. There's a billion videos of people replacing their drive. And what you really need is that sort of calming mass factor of seeing everybody that's done it and say, okay, that guy basically couldn't find his way out of a paper bag, but he could change out the micro SD or the SSD drive. So if he can do it, I can do it. You just have to find the right. Scenario. Speaking of DS, that's where I heard you first listening to Dual Screen Radio. Good Lord, man, Dual Screen Radio was the bomb. That was a great podcast. It was Chris Henschel and I, Womp here, was amazing. It was so much fun. That was good times. Good times. I was thinking about trying to get him to do something with the Steam Deck. I mean, I talk about the Steam Deck a lot on my podcast, Passenger Seat Radio, but it's more of a general life from the perspective of Shane R. Monroe versus technology or Steam Deck or whatever. It's just whatever happens to be happening in life and interesting stuff that, and of course I tell stories from the past, but that sort of thing. Passenger Seat Radio, for those of you who don't know about it. I don't put out nearly as many shows as I should, but if you want to know more and hear more stories, you want to hear my Navy stories, trust me, I've got so many good stories. Unfortunately, I've told most of them. But I've like 20 years of shows online, folks. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Dual Screen Radio was good stuff. That's like lightning in a bottle that'll probably never happen again. Okay, so number 5, here's where I expect Russell to argue with me. It's a great handheld, but it's not a great PC or a console. What do I mean by that? Purpose. Back to purpose, right? This guy, if it was not plain to see, this was designed to be a handheld gaming system that worked around a few caveats, right? Oh, look at that. You can see my screen. Hello. Shiny things, get distracted, right? It's a 7-inch screen, 800p, and it runs SteamOS games. And it has great controls to do that. The second you leave purpose and you start trying to turn it into a console, trying to turn it into a computer, you start running into problems, right? Now, the easiest way to turn this into something that's not a gaming machine is to put Windows on it. I hate to say that, but in my opinion, now Russell, I know you're a Linux guy. I am not. I don't know anybody who is other than you. Maybe Chris's brother is kind of a Linux guy. But to make the Steam Deck into a working desktop PC for the average Steam Deck owner, it's not a good thing. It's certainly not something that I would recommend. In fact, when people come in and say, "Hey, listen, I've got a desktop PC, I want to sell it and buy a Steam Deck. What do you think of that?" I'm like, "Dude, that's replacing an apple with an orange." I mean, yeah, they're both fruit and you eat them, but outside of that, they're completely different things. And yes, we live in an age where the average person could probably survive just fine with a Chromebook, right? Chrome OS, Chromebook. People live in the browser. So if that were the case and everybody could live in a browser, which is essentially what you're going to do as a Windows person that doesn't know Linux, running a Steam Deck without Windows on it, you're essentially running Chrome OS. You're running an operating system where the browser is the focal point of your life. The Chromebook has great uses for education. It's very popular, but it's not that popular. So what people want is they want a $400 gaming computer. They don't want to buy a $1,000 laptop. They don't want to buy a $1,500 desktop. They somehow want to buck the system and screw valve or whatever their justification is. They want somebody on Reddit to tell them, "Oh, it's a great PC. You don't need a computer. Just get this and you're good. Plug a mouse and keyboard and a monitor into it." Yeah. Unless it's running Windows, I completely disagree with that. That's why I really think that the ROG Ally has a good chance of sucking up a nice little chunk of Steam Deck's market. There's a lot of people that the problem with Steam Deck is it doesn't run Windows at the core of the problem, right? We talked about that earlier, but yeah, that's sort of the root of the problem, and the Ally is going to solve that, and all of the nasty things that Windows brings with it, right? But yeah, well, external controllers are a problem too. I mean, I'm constantly barraged with people on Reddit that say I can't get a second controller working. Bluetooth lag is terrible. Blah blah blah. Endless problems with external controllers. Okay, that doesn't mean everyone has a problem with it, but the common Joe, right? The common people who are coming in to see if their Steam Deck can be replaced by a PC, this is not the product for them. Again, I've got 3 different drives that have Windows on it, and I don't spend any time in Windows on the Steam Deck. I find it a pain. I find it a pain. Every time I'm up there, there's updates to be done. There's nonsense going on. There's always something that goes awry, and I don't like it. But yeah, so and people who think they're going to take it like a Switch and plug it into their TV, case closed. Doesn't exist. There are people out there that claim it does, but they're either too smart or they don't realize what it took them to get there. Half the damn TVs won't even display a signal coming out of the Steam Deck for some reason. Probably because they're buying really crappy docks to do it, or they're buying incorrect dongles. What I'm saying is this is not a turnkey console. This is not a turnkey PC. You can grudge-fist it into either one of those roles, but as somebody who is not up to speed with Linux, as somebody who's not interested in hokey pokey, as somebody who's not interested in getting their hands dirty, no, I would say it's the wrong device. But again, I do believe that the Ally may be able to fulfill the role for those handful of Steam Deck people that really want that. Yeah, you need a good dock, but listen, the official dock is $90, and it still can't do the job. I have people, you could go to Reddit right now, and over the last week, I think I've seen 4 people complain that the only way you can get HDMI working out of the dock again is to unplug it and plug it back into power. What is that? That's the official dock. That's not the $20 Bamboobly that I've got sitting on my desk right here, which is, by the way, great dock. I mean, listen, don't spend $90 when you can spend $20 and get as much or more, right? I don't have to power the dock off to get HDMI out, but I seem to be in the minority because there are tons of people that are posting on Reddit, the bitching capital of the world, of course, um, that they have trouble with external displays. How come my screen won't open up to full screen? How come it's only playing in this little window? How come when I switch over to 4K mode it freaks it out? It's supposed to work, blah blah blah. It's not a turnkey solution. It's not designed for, I don't care what anybody says. It's not designed, in my opinion, for external use. It's designed to purpose, and as long as you stick to purpose, it's the greatest thing ever. As soon as you leave purpose, you got problems. Which is pretty much what number 6 was. Great to purpose, a chore for everything else. I think I've already nailed that into the ground, right? I think it's a great handheld. I think it's fantastic for Steam gaming, as long as it's not EA gaming through Steam or Ubisoft gaming through Steam. But to purpose, I think it's one of the greatest products ever made. It's when people start trying to run weather satellites off of it, or diagnose their cars with it, or hooking them up to 3D printers, whatever. I think that's when you start looking at it, you know, oh, they sell a dock, it should work. Well, yeah, but look at how much they downplay the dock. Look how much they downplay. It's just a PC. Do anything you want. They started with that sort of plan early on in their marketing, and then just a little bit past there, all of a sudden it was dead quiet. All of a sudden you didn't know when the dock was going to come, if it was going to come, right? They claim supply. I think they didn't want to do it. I think they're like, oh my God, we cannot turn this into a computer because we're going to be saddled with endless calls. And they still haven't released the promised dual boot to Windows Easy UI. And I'll tell you why. Because Windows is pretty much destructive as hell against any other operating system that's trying to host it. The first time I tried to install a dual boot for Windows 11, it wiped out my entire boot record. I couldn't even get to SteamOS anymore. It's predatory. Windows is predatory, and making those two play nice doesn't seem to work out very well. So yeah, great to purpose. You want it for purpose, I will recommend it wholeheartedly. If you say I want it to replace my PC, I want it to be a TV game console for me and my kids to play, I'd be like, get a Switch. Number 7 sort of talks about what I've already been talking about. No official, clear, and easy path to Windows. I don't want Windows on my Steam Deck. I could put it on there tonight if I really wanted it. I don't want Windows. Most people, I think, that buy the Steam Deck don't want Windows. But the people who do, they want some sort of an easy turnkey solution, right? So without having a clear and easy path, I don't think that. I think that there's a lost market of people there, and they're gonna, once the Ally comes out and that starts sucking down that market, I think we'll have less people complaining on Reddit. Again, I would rather have one less deck user than one more unhappy deck user. Remember back in the day when we all scorned digital only, no physical copy? Times have changed. Probably time to find a new home for my physical collection. It's just too big to piece out. Um, I, it depends on what kind of physical collection you're talking about. There's never been a better time to actually own a physical collection, and that's because of the extraordinarily disposable nature of content. I mean, have you been following the news at all? There's some movie shot for Hulu, The Princess or something like that. Sounded actually like it might be an okay show. Batgirl, that was just put in the scrapyard. They found out that it's easier to not release the stuff and write it off as a tax loss than to actually release the content, right? Batgirl cost them, what, $130 million? I don't remember what the number was on that, but they shelved it. You'll never be able to see that movie unless somebody leaks a work print or something, right? So there are so many. I can go to my Movie Nook right now, and I could run my hand along the spines of my physical media, stop, and within one or two cases, I'll have a movie or a show that you can't watch anywhere. You can't watch it streaming. You can't buy it anymore. You can't download it. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. You would think that if you have 17 streaming services out there and everybody is so eager to shovel content at you, that you would have no problem getting whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want. Not the way that it's working out, though. So I'm a huge, I'll give you an example. Today, my wife reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I want to listen to the Scooby Doo soundtrack, right from the Matthew Lillard live action Freddie Prinze Jr. Scooby Doo movie. Great movie. I give him a pass on the CGI because there's no way you're going to get a real dog to do that stuff. But and so she's like, it only plays a couple of songs and then skips out and goes on to some other song, and I'm like, that's weird. But I don't know why it's doing that. So I went up to YouTube Music and pulled the album up, and guess what? 3 of 14 songs are available. The rest are right? Although if I went to my Plex server, and guess what? I have the entire Scooby-Doo soundtrack on there. I own the disc. And guess what? It's on my Plex server, and it's good to go anytime. Um, and so I just ended up uploading it to YouTube because we have the family account. You should be able to share it. But this is my point. Especially now with there's such this terrible urge to rip content from other people. Netflix used to be some sort of a haven. And I remember people telling me on my discussion forums, no, 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 no. There will be a utopia of digital media. You will be able to watch anything you want on Netflix. Eventually, Netflix will own everything, will show everything. It doesn't matter what it is, you'll be able to get it on Netflix. Well, where did that go? Nowhere. So, no, I'm not ready to give up physical media yet. Is it a pain to store? Is it too much? Is it too big? You know what? There are times, I won't say every day because that'd be hyperbole, but, just today, we were saved. My wife had an urge to listen to that album, and we happened to have it, whereas streaming didn't. So, no, I'm holding on to that stuff. Let's see. Negative physical is still the king. Only problem, PC deck gaming was forced to digital. Yeah, I'm disgusted. And the only thing, I know, Russell, you were a big holdout. I was a holdout too. I did not want to join the Steam revolution because I was a physical media kind of guy, and eventually I just gave in because eventually stuff just wasn't being released physically, and the only way to get it was Steam. And Russell held out the longest of all of us. God bless him. But here's the thing about Steam, right? I make a huge stink against game streaming because there's literally no ownership. And then these people who love game streaming because they don't have to own or install anything, they'll be like, well, it's no different. You don't own anything on Steam either. Not exactly true. You're right. It's sort of a rental, but it's a rental I can download. And if I can download it, I can patch it, right? So a single player game from Steam from, 2003, I can download it, and I guarantee there's a no CD or some other patch out there that will remove the DRM from it, and I can still play it. If everything went streaming and there were no more downloads and there was no more even remote type of ownership, that would be lost. And now the same thing is happening with film, television. These things are all getting ghosted because the people who are in charge of it are in charge of the only copies of it. They're in charge of how it ever gets seen or looked at again. And if they write it off on their taxes, they can't show it to anybody again ever. It can never be distributed. So it's disgusting. The Willow Show, sometimes dead is better. Yeah. Listen, 90% of what's out there, I could give a rat's ass if it ever shows up again, or if it's only available for 2 seconds, then it goes away. Which is why I buy everything that I care about, right? Anything that I care about, I buy if it's available. If not, I'll acquire it and archive it away somewhere, right? I mean, listen, just because it's streaming doesn't mean you can't get it. Let's see. Other gaming platforms are trying to force digital, and it's partially there. Yeah, it's not good. As long as we don't move to streaming, as long as I can download a copy, offload it to a disk somewhere, and wait for somebody to crack it, I'll be fine. Turbo! Oh, is that you, Turbo? I didn't realize that was you. Hey now. I don't know. I think Russell might have outheld you. Let's see. Number 8. Okay. I don't think anybody would complain about this one. Number 8 of the 10 things wrong with the otherwise awesome handheld. The screen is average. And to be honest, it's an easy target for competitors, right? All you hear about from the Ally is a gorgeous screen, 1080p, gorgeous OLED screen. Ooh, listen, the Steam Deck screen is sort of like The Last Jedi. It's not really hard to do something better than that. And to be honest, the touchscreen sucks. right? That's not even on my list, but I'll lump that in with the screen. Touchscreen sucks on the deck. If you want to play like an emulated Nintendo DS game and you wanted to use the touchscreen for Pac-Pigs or Kirby's Canvas Curse, forget about it. It sucks. The touchscreen is it's for tapping. That's all you can do with it. You're not going to draw on it. You're not going to use it for artwork or anything like that. So the screen is extraordinarily average. Now, we can blame the components, the lack of components, the supply chain problems, all that sort of thing. But Asus is eating the deck's lunch with this gorgeous screen. Now, I haven't seen it personally. I may this weekend go haul my butt to Best Buy and actually take my deck with me, hold them up side by side, and take a picture. Because they say that you can't tell unless you see it in person. I buy that. But the fact that the screen is so average, there's nothing that you can say about it that says, ooh, Steam Deck screen. It's 7 inches, so it's small. It's got a huge bezel. Touchscreen sucks. Color luminance kind of sucks unless you use Vibrant Deck, and even then, that's just sort of a BS thing. There's nothing about the Steam Deck screen that is worth jumping up and down about. So anybody who does even an inch over what the Steam Deck has put forth with that, it's an easy sell for competitors. I think what we need is a refresh. I would like to see not a Steam Deck 2. I would just like to see a quality of life Steam Deck, right? Steam Deck, not XL, but some sort of little Max or Plus or something that takes us and gives us that OLED screen, takes away that stupid bezel. Give me an 8-inch screen. I guarantee an 8-inch screen will fit in there. Upside, I don't care about 800p. Leave it 800p. I'm fine with that. Just give me some sort of a better screen. Good Lord. Let's see. The publishers are making ownership a non-factor by making everything a live service. Right. Owning a physical copy is irrelevant for Overwatch, Diablo 4. You're absolutely right. But like Call of Duty, there's still a single-player component. There are still Call of Duty games out there that can still be played thanks to somebody setting up a complete modded server. And the longer the distance is between when the project was released and when the modding teams can get a hold of it, the developers, the homebrew, and the community are so freaking smart now that they're setting up full-blown servers. Look at the North Star mod for Titanfall 2. That's ridiculous. They're running a full-blown multiplayer subsystem for a game that EA threw in the scrap pile ages ago, which is criminal, of course. But my point is that if it's a streaming-only game, forget about it. There's no future whatsoever. If it is something you can download, even if it's connecting to a SaaS of some sort, there's a possibility of bringing it back in the future, right? What was I watching on Modern Video Game, Vintage Gamer? Somebody put up a Halo server for Xbox. A Halo server. It's been like 30 freaking years or something, and they're running a full-blown, full-service Halo server. What the hell, right? I mean, that's ridiculous. That's crazy. And if anybody cares about something enough, like Titanfall 2, or maybe somebody cares a lot about Black Ops 4, right? Because we know how much I love the zombies on there. Somebody at some point, when the heat's down and when nobody cares anymore, they can stand up a server. They can come up with a peer-to-peer or something that will open up those games. Now, you've seen it time and time again already, right? With pirated software. If you buy something that's software as a service, and there are $390 worth of unlockable pinball tables, they can crack it and they can release it, and all those tables are unlocked. All the items you can win are unlocked. Recently, I did a video on NBA Jam. It's an NBA Jam. What was it called? Legends on Fire Edition. So essentially, what these guys did is they took a PlayStation 3 game of NBA Jam. They fisted in all of the stars that they had to take out, like Larry Bird's, everybody's in there, right? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's in there. All the people that had to be licensed and tidied up and removed, and this expired, that expired. All of those, they restored all of those with a patch. So they included, and get this, they actually added a campaign mode to NBA Jam, and this isn't some company that picked up the title and is doing some sort of an official remaster. This is the community doing stuff like this. So, yeah, I mean, the SaaS stuff makes me mental, because SaaS usually means that it's going to be free to play and it's going to be a whale game and blah blah blah. But listen, I'll take that any day over 100% streaming. Let's see. Screen is average. Yeah, we got that. Number nine. Number nine. Verification system needs an overhaul. That might be an understatement. So there's two problems with the verification system, right? The first problem with the verification system is people don't know what verified means. They believe verified means it is just like every other AAA game. We're talking cloud saves. We're talking about online services. We're talking about this. We're talking about that. Um, in reality, the verified for Steam Deck doesn't cover any of that stuff, and it's right there in black and white. You know, if you go and look at game info and it says verified or playable or whatever, it'll tell you exactly what the criteria is for what's verified or what's playable. It doesn't say anything about cloud saves. Games that old don't have cloud saves, right? So it's like part of the problem is education to the consumer. When you see verified on Steam Deck, they need, I don't know how much more clear they can do it outside of taking out billboards or something. But somebody, you know, there's a disconnect between consumer and Valve on this one. People think that verified means something that it doesn't. Now, on the other hand, if it's verified, there should be no hokey pokey going on, right? If a game is verified, I should not have to nuke the Proton files twice a month in order to keep playing the game. It's ridiculous, right? You'll also notice that while all the EA games were verified on Steam, none of them are anymore. They're all either playable or unsupported, right? They're all that way. It's like when in EA's tomfoolery happened about 2 months ago. All of a sudden, it's like watching the delayed things flip for an airline flight, right? It just flipped over and everything was unsupported, and they were smart to do that. And I posted that on Reddit. I said they're smart because it's out of their hands. Listen, they can fix it, but it's going to take time. They have to crank up a new version of Proton. They have to work around whatever nonsense that EA and Ubisoft and everybody else decided to put in there. Is it their responsibility? Here's the thing, and this is why I have a mixed mind about where do you buy an EA game. Let's say you really want Battlefront 2. Do you buy it on the EA app or do you buy it on Steam? My mind says buy it on Steam because then Valve is responsible. They're responsible when that game stops working, right? Because you're going to write them and say, dude, the game stopped working. They're not going to write to EA. If Fallen Order stops working on the Steam Deck and you bought it on Steam, EA's not getting a call. Steam is, Valve is. And so they have a vested interest in making sure that those games continue to run. If you buy it on the EA app and you're installing EA app as a non-Steam game, EA doesn't care. You're going to write to EA and say, it doesn't work anymore. They're going to be like, well, run it on Windows, pal, because we don't support Linux. And bye-bye now. Where on the other hand, Steam may take them a couple weeks, but eventually they seem to get it to work. And so the verified system in general is a problem, right? I dig it. I know where they're coming from. And people are like, just use ProtonDB. Don't worry about that. Dude, have you been to ProtonDB? I don't want to talk bad about it, but community funded content tends to go stale quickly and not always be right and certainly not complete. Now, ProtonDB has gotten me out of a ton of things. I mean, they've helped me get Deadpool working, which was almost impossible. ProtonDB does have great stuff there, but it's not a replacement for a verification system. It's there for, hey, do you know what Proton Tricks is? Guess what? You could probably get this game working if you use that and you know what you're doing. Versus, dude, the game doesn't run. Don't buy it. Don't spend your money on it. Which is exactly what Valve has had to do with some of these EA games. So, lack of cloud saves on some games is crazy. It's okay, Douglas. Let me explain to you why it's not crazy. So, cloud saves are put there by Valve as an option for developers. The developers have to opt into it. They have to use the Steam's APIs to handle it, right? So it's not Valve gave the developers the option. If the developers, just like the easy anti-cheat, right? Valve has said, here's how you can make your anti-cheat game work alongside the Steam Deck. And it's apparently a bit flip and a recompile, and you're done. That's what I hear. I don't know if that's true. Um, Guess who's not doing it? Like almost nobody. Nobody's doing it. Why? Because they don't care. They don't care about making it compatible with the Steam Deck. We don't have the numbers to command that yet. Cloud saves, right? So cloud saves are available to any developer to use. If they choose to use them or don't choose to use them, that's on them. Now let me explain where the cloud saves really screw you over. EA Games, Ubisoft, Rockstar. Guess what? The fact that you have to run their crappy ass third-party lockers for this stuff, the burden is now on them to do cloud saves. And they won't go back and retrofit cloud saves into anything, right? If it didn't originally have cloud saves, it'll never have cloud saves. And guess what? Valve can't do anything about it. They turn control over to the third-party locker, and it's done. They're like, we're done. You told us that if we want to sell Rayman Legends on Steam, that we have to use your little tween locker. Fine. But we're going to hand it off to your tween locker, and then we're going to dust our hands off and call it a day. So there's no cloud saves available for that stuff unless those other digital lockers have chosen to provide it. Now, I don't know why there are native Steam games that are brand new that don't have cloud saves. I am still stunned as to how that's still the case. But it's not Valve's fault. And frankly, buyer beware, right? If you buy a game and it doesn't say cloud saves, maybe you shouldn't buy it. Maybe that's how you then, instead of buying it, you go to their discussion forums and say, when you get cloud saves, then I'll buy it. Otherwise, nobody cares. I mean, if it's easy to implement, it's running off some engine that already has the cloud saves built into it, they'll use it. But they don't care. That's the bottom line. And it's not, they isn't Valve. So it's the developers, it's the publishers, it's the third-party lockers that are the problem. Okay, I've got one left. We're over an hour here. Non-Steam game maintenance is a self-imposed issue, but it still sucks, right? This is, I have so many videos about this. I talk about it so much on Reddit. Non-Steam games are all about you. If you want to run something that doesn't install from Steam, purchase and install from Steam, you're on your own. And that is the way it has been since the beginning of time with Steam. This is not something new for the Steam Deck, right? Essentially, there's a courtesy by Steam. There's a courtesy by Steam to allow you to put a launcher inside of Steam to play something that you didn't buy or didn't come from them. As such, right? As such, again, just like the third-party lockers, we'll give you tell us what executable to run and we'll do it. Outside of that, it's all up to you. Oh, by the way, when you're done with that nonsense, when you're done with Genshin Impact, which didn't download from us, we don't have anything to do with it. When you're done, you're going to have to uninstall it, clean up your shader caches, delete everything, and remove it from Steam if you want it to go away. And I don't think there's a problem with that. Steam should make it easier. No, Steam shouldn't make it easier. It's not their problem. What you do with non-Steam stuff with regards to Valve and Steam is not their concern. You're lucky they're even giving you an option to launch. Now, on the Steam Deck, there is one little caveat to that whole thing, is that the Steam Deck requires Proton to play Windows games. Steam is the conduit of Proton. So when you add a non-Steam game, it doesn't run, right? If you add a non-Steam game like Battle.net.exe and you hit play, it doesn't run because it needs Proton to run. The only way you can make Proton run that title is to do it through the Steam compatibility layer, right? So Steam does have, but again, that's a handoff, right? That they also let you use whatever version of Proton you want. If you want to use GE Proton, if you want to use Northstar, Titanfall 2's Proton, they don't stop you from using another Proton, but they're not going to help you. They're not going to try to deal with your nonsense, right? Which is again why I think the Ally has allies. The Ally has a group of people that they don't want to clean up after themselves. You're basically asking a product to run something that they didn't make any money on. They don't have any control over it. They have no idea what the hell you're doing. Oh, but you're expecting me to clean up after that. I don't blame them at all. I think I think it's great. And the community has really stepped up. If you haven't seen my Shortix video, Shortix is great. It literally takes and makes sim links to all your non-Steam games and shaders and tells you what number folder that they're in. It's genius. It's brilliant. It's easy to do. Take you 5 minutes to set this thing up, even if you watch the video on slow-mo. Then you can clean up after yourself, right? And I've got a video called non-Steam game components and how to remove them cleanly. That will tell you exactly how to clean up after yourself. Expecting Valve to do it's ridiculous, but it's back to the same thing. If you want the market share, you'll have to give a clear and easy path to Windows. You're going to have to give a clear and easy path to non-Steam game cleanup. You're going to have to make a clear and easy path for several things if you want Joe Q. Schmuckatelli to buy your product and not complain about it because it doesn't run Windows. Run Windows, this all goes away, which is funny because it doesn't. Windows just adds more nonsense to the equation, but people are used to Windows nonsense. They're not used to Steam Deck or Linux nonsense. Linux people don't care at all about any of this stuff. Let's see. Yeah, at least Valve reversed the verified stamp. Yeah, they're trying. I mean, listen, I don't know how many games are on Steam. It's some ridiculous number. You'd have to have a team of like 100 people working 12-hour days to try to keep up on everything. But at least, yeah, they're at least trying to keep up with the major stuff. And you know why they're keeping up with the major stuff? Because that's where they get all the complaints from. That the EA stuff especially, right? Fallen Order, when Fallen Order stops working, when Mass Effect Legendary Edition stops working, when Titanfall stops working, there's like 5 EA titles. When any of them stop working, the help desk over at Valve must go batty. It's the same thing at my office, right? There's like 4 or 5 things that if they go down, the entire organization slams to a stop. And my guess is when EA games stop working, Steam purchased EA Locker Tween games. When those stop working, Valve probably hates it. And they're smart. Just change it to unsupported. Of course, you still have to deal with the people who bought it when it was supported. I feel bad for them on that respect. We're lucky to have you and your videos to be guiding hands on cleanups. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make this thing easier for people to use. Unfortunately, and this is why I know that Ally has a market. I could put together the most succinct 5-minute video teaching you how to fix an Electronic Arts game. Take you 5 minutes to fix it and get back to working order. Bing, bang, boom, you're back at the mall. People think that that's too much. That's too much nonsense. That's too much hokey pokey. And we're not willing to do it. We'll just let the thing sit and rot. Or I'll go on Reddit and bitch about it until somebody tells me exactly what I need to do. And even then, I'll balk at it and complain. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how enabling. There are people that are capable but not knowledgeable. Those are who I'm serving. The people who are not capable or are not willing to become capable, my stuff can't help them. I can't make you do it. I can explain it to you, right? My latest BattleNet installer video came out in celebration of Diablo 4. Because when a big game comes out from Blizzard, we get tons of posts on Reddit. All of a sudden, everybody wants to know how to run BattleNet. Everybody wants to know how to get BattleNet running. Everybody wants to run Diablo 4. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I make a separate launcher for every BattleNet title? Blah blah blah. It's the same thing with every other third-party launcher. You just have to wait for one of these you have to wait for one of these big game releases to happen before anybody cares. And so I'd like to think that I'm one of the rare YouTubers that will go back to my old videos and depreciate them. I'll mark them as depreciated, and if they actually are damaging, I'll remove them, or I'll line them out and say I've replaced it with this one. So sometime this weekend, I'll have to go to my 2023 BattleNet, which I thought would be the last BattleNet video I'd have to do this year, and go back and replace it with Rev 2, because that will show you how to do the very things that people are asking for. I want to be able to launch each BattleNet game separately. You can only kind of do that. You end up landing in BattleNet no matter what you do. I mean, that's the other problem with third-party launchers, right? All of them want you to hit their storefront so they may be able to sell you on an impulse buy. There's no money to be had by passing you straight through to your game. Can't have that. Plus, if you deny those lockers their functionality, you might lose game saves, right? You might lose configuration saves. You might lose DLC. There's all sorts of things that they build into those lockers to to basically screw you over, right? I mean, I don't know how else to put it. So, yeah, yeah. So that's it. Those are my 10 items. Um, those are the things that I think are wrong with it. I mean, obviously, people who are claw method don't care about the bumper, but I think most of the other things, people argue with me left and right about it not being a PC. It is a PC, but it's a specialty PC, right? There's a lot of items that exist in our ecosystem that are technically PCs, but they don't work as a PC. They don't work well as a PC, and you're just, just trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes if you think it is. So, well, listen, I don't know how many people did we end up getting? Not a lot. Pick up some in. We'll pick up some in post, right? But I think it was fun. We had a lot of fun. Maybe we'll do this again. I don't know. It only takes about an hour, and I like being able to just sort of flow with this stuff and get you guys' thoughts and opinions too. It's really cool. So, all right. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Yeah, unless anybody's got anything else they want to complain about with the Steam Deck. I'm sure we'll get plenty of people that'll add to this after the fact. So, okay. Well, then we'll call it. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate everybody who tuned in, whether you stayed long or not. You still came by. I appreciate that. Sorry for the short notice. It was sort of an impulse thing. It was an impulse buy, like getting something off of Digital Locker's shop page. All right, everybody. I'm Shane R. Monroe. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you next time. And I think I have one more video planned to come out. I think I have one more video planned to come out this weekend. So be looking for that. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.